This is the NVIDIA one-year overview reading for the year of 2024. It's currently December 10th, 2023, 10:50 p.m. Eastern Time. NVIDIA at the time of this reading is $475.06. That's USD. And the shuffle video we're about to play for you was created on September 24th, 2023 at 10:41 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video here in the corner. The overall theme and behavior for NVIDIA in 2024 is a notable rally increasing with momentum moving forward in time that'll stand out on at least a one-year chart scale. It's crossed with also bullish card, interesting. So very, very bullish overall trend for NVIDIA. The crossing card is bumping along resistance, probably breaking through resistance, bumping along resistance some more, and then breaking through and bumping along some more. But the overall trend behavior of that card is like the sideways bumping along resistance. Behavior around the highest side, we have a brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a decline through multiple support levels. And behavior around the lowest low, we have a sideways fluctuating decline that precedes a notable rally, forming the low for the year, lower lows for the year, I should say. Both the high and the low are significant cards in cross-reading congruencies with the 10-year reading. I did a new 10-year reading, so check that out in a different video or in the paid version of this one. Before we go any further, I want to make sure everybody's aware. The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. Now, we do that by following the rule of karma for the channel. It's the unwritten agreement between anybody utilizing this information for personal gain and the universe. The universe does not want anybody utilizing this information just for their own personal gain. They're perfectly fine with people doing so as long as they are simultaneously helping other people. The way that you make sure to do this is by following through on the rule of karma for the channel, and that's a threefold rule. The first part is 5% of the profits from every profitable trade utilizing this information should be donated forward to one of these charities here on the resources tab of our website, tarotfortraders.com. And then the second part, 5% of the profit should be donated back to the channel through one of these links here. If you're international, you can use Wise or you can use YouTube tips. And then that leaves you with 90%. The third part of the rule is to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, that means you're an angel investor of the channel. The universe is going to send it back to you tenfold for following through on the rule of karma. Be a positive inspiration and cure for the world. Follow through and make some money while you do it, my friends. All right, so let's get into it. So each one of these four clusters on a one-year chart, guys, each one of these four clusters of four cards represents 1 month out of the year, and you can see their label going across. What's important to understand is that the two cards in the middle of each cluster going left to right represent about 2 weeks of time, and what you got to understand is that not each card's energy is going to represent or is going to line up perfectly with 2 weeks of time. So you have to give it about plus or minus 2 weeks of wiggle room in some cases. Very, very often, there won't be a need to do the plus or minus, but in some cases, we will be off by plus or minus. The sequence of events that we predict will remain accurate, so always follow the sequence of events. That way, if we do find ourselves off a little bit as far as timing, you can still stay on track. You can always get on one of our lives that we do on basically every trading day. So here in January, we have a prominent move higher followed by a full retracement of that move. And that's a prominent move higher that'll stand out on a one-year chart scale, followed by a full retracement of that move back down to where the move higher started. Behavior around the January high is 3 pokes through the same trend line or resistance level, followed by resistance level, followed by a sharp decline off of that third poke. And that decline will increase with momentum moving forward as we move out of the second portion of January. The behavior on the January low, we have a prominent move higher followed by through a key resistance. We stay above that resistance briefly, and then we break back down through the same price level shortly thereafter with a full retracement. Usually when you see the love card in the low correlation position, it indicates 2 lows with a peak in between. So we probably have a low early in January with a move higher, 3 pokes through the same price level, and then another decline back down to where that move higher started in the end of January. Whoa. I just accidentally knocked this card off the top of my deck. This is what you call clear kinetics. It's the Hierophant card chart pattern, very, very similar to exactly what I was talking about. It's a pop and drop, a move higher, and then a full retracement almost. The January high is also within close time proximity to a prominent trough on a one-year chart scale there towards the later part of January or on the cusp of January, February, or early February. There is a prominent peak in early February that we sell off from pretty notably in the midst of a period of volatility. That period of volatility ends with a fast sudden move higher. Right, so a sharp drop from that crest or peak in early February to a trough, a prominent trough on a one-year chart scale there at some point in February. And then out of that trough, there's a notable move higher, like a breakout, and we turn resistance on a multi-day scale into new support in the later part of February. Then we turn into price swings in early March, a trade opportunity in February and March that I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. And then in those price swings, there's a decline off of the March high, offering the trade opportunity I'll talk about in more detail again in the paid version. Looks like the March high is towards the end of the month of March. And the March high is also within close time proximity to a prominent trough on a one-year chart scale. There's also a pop and drop in the later part of March, and the low for March forms after a notable decline through multiple support levels on a multi-day scale. A lot of volatility in early April and a cross-reading congruency. I'll talk about what that means in more detail in the paid version. But a lot of volatility in early April. An important resistance level is highlighted in the midst of that volatility and a trade opportunity surrounding that resistance. I'll talk about it in more detail in the paid version. And then there's a sharp drop. Looks like in the second week of April, maybe that's the beginning of the third week of April. Behavior around the April low, we have sideways rotation and a fast sudden move higher that marks the end of that sideways rotation. A notable rally to reach the April high. It increases with momentum moving forward in time. And we bump along resistance, break through resistance, bump along resistance, break through resistance around that April high as well. And then a period of volatility in the later part of April with a sharp drop that stands out in that period of volatility. That sharp drop will probably take us to our April low, and it'll be a prominent trough on a one-year chart scale there. A trade opportunity on the cusp of April, May. I'll talk about it in more detail in the paid version. And the unicursal indicates a sharp drop from an important price point. That full card in the high position of May also indicates an important opportunity that when we look back at 2024, it'll stand out amongst all of the opportunity. Throughout 2024, it'll really stand out as like one of the best, if not the best opportunity. So we'll obviously talk about that in more detail in the paid version. You combine that with the ace a discard. There's a really important moment around there in the midst of some price swings along a support level, and then behavior around the May low. We have a decline through multiple support levels. Guys, if you're interested in the paid version, what you get in the paid version, guys, there's so much extra information. So not only do you get all the stuff we're talking about here in the public version, but you also get me. I identify where the highest highs and the lowest lows are. I'm not always right, but most of the time I'm right. Like, you know, so like how valuable is that information? That's so valuable, right? And so there's that, and then the best trades that we see, what type of chart behavior to look for around those timing of those trades, and what that's for entry and exits. What type of tricky situations to avoid. We talk about price levels if we're able to extrapolate that information. We talk about trades from a multi-year standpoint, and we give you the comparative performance of NVIDIA and the S&P 500 over the same period of 2024. All that in the paid version, guys, and not to mention we remember the names of everybody that goes ahead and orders one of these because you guys really support the channel. I mean, if you follow any of our lives, you'll understand that these one-year readings, it's December. We're using one-year readings that were made in 2022 with like 100% accuracy still in December, still 100% reliable. Look, the S&P 500 2023 year one-year reading that we utilize every single trading day on our lives, it was made in October 26, 2022, my friends. Like over a year ago. Way over a year ago, still being used today with 100% accuracy. Check it out. It's super valuable information you can't find anywhere else. Most people will not have this information to trade with, which means what? It means the people who have this information and know how to utilize it are going to have an insane edge as long as they trade responsibly, because I'm not always right, guys. Remember that. It's easy to forget that. So the way that you get the paid version, you go to our website, tarotfortraders.com, and you hover over our services, click on SO Meta Posts, scroll down to a one-year report, click here to order, specify the year that you're interested in, click the or enter the ticker or crypto that you're interested in, and add to cart $249 for a year's worth of information that most people will like have to wait until that time has passed to get the information that you'll have for over a year ahead of like by this time next year. My God, I mean, can you imagine? I don't need to imagine. I have it, and so many other people do, but most people do not, making it an insane edge. Thanks again to everybody that goes and does that. Let's continue. All right, so another a notable decline in early June, one of the biggest declines it looks like from May into June of the year, one of the biggest declines of the year, and there's a prominent trough in early June, a peak in like the second week of June that we sell off from pretty notably. And then the low of June forms when we have from a crest, we sell off down to and through support, and then we do a U-shaped reversal, come back and reuse that price level as support. There's a prominent trough at the end of the month of June as well, around the cusp of June, July, and a big move out of it, one of the biggest moves up out of it that we'll see for the year. It could be out of oversold territory, it could be to fill a previous gap up, it could just be like some like sudden piece of news that sends us flying, but there's an important resistance level in early July. That's highlighted in the early part of July. We kind of flattened out around that resistance. The July low is within close time proximity to a prominent peak on a one-year chart scale, and the July high forms when we rally, a notable rally on a one-year chart into that. We probably break through several resistances while bumping along resistance, breaking through, bumping along, breaking through, and then there's a peak that forms the July highs towards the end of a month of July, it looks like, and there's a peak that forms there when we break through resistance, we stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through the same price level shortly thereafter. Another notable move higher in early August, reaching for a distant resistance, a lot of volatility move and price change moving into the August high, cross-shooting congruencies there, we'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. The August low is going to form at an important support level on a multi-year chart scale, and then out of a decline, the late part of August, we'll have a big move out of a decline from the bottom of the range all the way to the top of the range to reach for prominent peaks on a one-year chart scale there towards the end of August, or maybe on the cusp of August, September. Multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance there around the early part of September, and a sharp drop in early September as well. The September high will form later in the month, it looks like, with a notable rally into it along a diagonal trend line that breaks through horizontal resistance, meets a second resistance, and then pulls back to somewhere between those two price levels. Behavior around the September low, we have a cross upwards through an important price level, then we cross back down through it, and then cross back up through it again, so we probably see the September low twice. Usually on that third cross up, we confirm a bullish trend, and it looks like as we leave September, we're in a bullish kind of trajectory. All right, so there's a sharp drop maybe right at the end of September or on the cusp of September, October. Notable reversal in the early part of October, offering a notable opportunity. We're going to talk about more detail on the paid version, and there's an unexpected move higher to reach for the October high. The October low forms when a rally along a diagonal trend line ends with a fast sudden move higher, and then a breakdown through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. And then the later part of October, we have a sideways rotation establishing support, and then a big move higher sending out on a one-year chart. The rally's into early November, then that rally ends in early November. We have sideways rotation near the November high. It looks like the November high is probably towards the third week of November, and then we have a pretty significant decline there off of that November high into a low probably in the first week of like a significant trough on a one-year chart scale in the first week of December at an important price level where we kind of flatten out. We'll do sideways rotation in early December, and then off of the December low there in early December, we'll have a big move higher, pushing the upper end of a range higher, and then establishing support at a higher price level in the later part of December. Off of the December high, we should see a notable decline to a trough that'll be important on like a multi-day scale. And then the sneak preview for 2025 is 2025 looks pretty mixed. Usually when you see the Queen of Cups, it's like on a scale of a multi-month or a one-year chart. It's a decline from like a diagonal trend line to the downside, a decline to a diagonal trend line to the downside support, and then back to that first trend line as resistance, and then back to that other trend line as support, making like a sideways S formation within a channel. So we'll see some pretty mixed behavior, but within like a channel there, it looks like. And then we'll get into that in more detail in the paid version when we take a look at the 10-year reading. That's NVIDIA for 2024. My friends, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow that rule of karma. If you like this sort of thing, please subscribe. Really helps out the channel. If you have subscribed, please share this with somebody you think it would help. Most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma. And blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.